Hey everybody, and welcome to week 2 of class already. We're going to start diving into the components of the marketing plan at this point. So this week we've got an introduction to strategy, which I have in a brief micro lecture here. Go ahead and watch that. It just gives you an overview of what strategy is about, and I know this class is not about strategy, but the important takeaway from that is marketing strategy has to be very much coincide with and be very, very reflective of the overall strategy of the organization. In fact, I can tell you this from a practical standpoint. When companies do kind of strategy review and do, talk about things that they might want to change, marketing is quite often the part of the function, I should say, in the organization that is leading the charge on that. So take a look at that. Again, it's a very brief overview. And then we're going to cover Chapter 3 and Chapter 4 this week. I want you to take a note of the dates, because this is the real cadence of the class, seeing as we have to do at least 2 chapters per week. Chapter 3 is due on Thursday the 12th at 11:59, and Chapter 4's quiz is due Sunday the 15th. That's when they're due. You can do them beforehand. You can be that time or whatever. You can do whatever pace you want. You just have to make sure they're done by then, okay? So that's what we have going on there. Let me just see what else. There is extra video content if you want to look at it. I think it's a really interesting topic, and that is personas that you're going to start working on in for the plan in Milestone 1. Personas are generated through AI now, and it's not very surprising that they would be, quite honestly. It makes a lot of sense. That's the data that drives everything. So there's a link for that in our content for this week. And then here is our, and then we have a discussion topic this week, which is take a look at one of your favorite products and it's kind of outline the best of your ability who you think the target market is for that product. That'll be your original post, and respond to your classmates' post by Sunday. Okay, so that has to be done by Thursday. All right, so with that in mind, let's take a quick look at the chapters. I'll go to the text. Now, Chapter 3 is about segmentation, and actually how you do that as an actual exercise, if you will. So it explains a little bit about why you segment, but then it talks about what are market segments, and then what are the basis for doing segmentation on. The two that we're going to be most interested in are demographic and psychological, but actually geographic, psychological, and behavioral are really something that are going under a broader topic called psychographics. So, but basically, you do your demographics first. You generate some kind of a larger view of who the market is by demographic, and then and then it's easier to do the research on what kind of psychographics you can associate with that demographic target market. So we're going to talk about how marketers segment the market. And one of the things I like to point out is that segmentation and creating target markets are really not trying to define exactly who's going to buy your product. It's defining who is most likely to buy your product. It's not everyone who's going to buy your product. So a lot of times you're dealing with a large multinational product launch. You're going to be talking about several segments that you consider to be primary. So that's not that unheard of. But for the purposes of doing our exercise for class, that's how we're going to look at it. Let's take a look at Chapter 4. Actually, I'm going to stop here on Chapter 3. I'm going to take a look at the next page over. I was just giving you the outline. But if you really want to write down what the objectives are as you're trying to learn from this, and what you can take away and actually potentially use in your milestones, your discussions, or your other activities, just take a look at the learning objectives. They're usually pretty on point. And you can use those as kind of headers, if you will, to take notes from what you're reading for. So, for example, explaining what segmentation is and why it's important in marketing, identify the types of market segments, describe the 4 bases of segmentation, and discuss the differences between the 2 approaches used to identify market segments, are all good things, good headings, if you will, to take notes of some of the concepts that you're going to read about. And then become real familiar with this graphic. This graphic is representation of how we're actually the marketing management framework. We talk about the inputs being the customer, company, contents, collaborators, competitors, the 5 C's of marketing, if you will. I think you read about that in chapter 1. And then now in earnest, we're going to start building this plan, and these are the first steps you take is the STP stages of it, which are segmentation, targeting, and positioning. And then we move on to something the more classic 4 P's of marketing, which is product, price, place, and promotion. We're going to talk about all these things in more detail, but keep this framework in mind. It's very helpful. Okay, so with that, learn about segmentation because it's a big part of what you're going to do in milestone 1. Let's take a look at chapter 4. So in chapter 4, we're talking about targeting. It's the second of the STP part of the marketing framework. So we talk about what targeting is and why do marketers do it. How do we choose a segment to target? And that from a very basic standpoint, but the best way to think about it is if you make it too small, if you make it too specific, you're going to make the market too small and not very profitable to go after. And if you make it too broad, you're going to make it almost impossible to effectively market to. So you got to find where's the logical definition of the market is. Doing competitive comparisons also help you kind of get a sense of where people are targeting and already in the marketplace. It goes over some mechanics of how to size markets, why that's important to do that. We won't have to do that for our plan because it usually requires a lot of specific information that we just simply don't have. So and don't have the time for it either. So it's all right. You'll get the gist of it by looking at it that way. So that's chapter 4. Take the quizzes as soon as you're done doing the chapter. I think that's just good advice. But the quizzes in MindTap, make sure you're doing those right away after you're done reading it. So your learning objectives, or the framework that you could possibly use to take notes. Define what targeting is and why it's helpful to marketers. Objective number 2, understand how to choose the right segment to target. And number 3, understand how to estimate the size of the target market, how many customers we're talking about, that kind of thing. You're getting a brief overview of it in this text. It's good enough for what we're doing here. To get an idea of what happens. As you can appreciate, it could get very complex if depending on what exactly you're doing and what's the scope of your market and that kind of thing. All right, so that's going to cover off on chapters 3 and 4. Now, I know it doesn't seem like it, and I'm saying this tongue-in-cheek, but I do mean it. This week is a little lighter than some of the ones that certainly the week 1, and then some of the ones that are coming up. It's because I want you to get started on milestone 1. You have enough information here after reading these 2 chapters to kind of frame what is being asked for. But doing the research is going to take a little time. You have some starter research, some sources of information in the company background information and the background information for the project. So go ahead and use that as kind of a starting point, get some ideas from it. But go ahead and dive in. I've had students submit papers that had, I guess about 25 different sources. I'm not saying that that's necessary. I'm just saying that they've gone that deep into it and found a lot of information, but they had to look at that many sources to get to it. So I'm trying to give you a little time to get a head start on it. Start working on it. If you get stuck with any of that, don't hesitate to reach out to me. This is imminently doable. It's just, but it takes a little time, and I want to make sure you get a good start on it. So start on that this week. If you have any questions or need to see clarification on anything we're covering here, let me know right away. And otherwise, good luck with the work, and I look forward to reading some of the things that you write in your discussion posts. Okay, have a good week.